What is up, my slime? I remember back in high school, I used to hate reading. Every English class, I think I wanted to burn the book. Anyways, but 5 years ago when I started my self-improvement journey, I started to force myself to read just 10 pages a day. You know, this is not that much. And somehow this tiny habit changed the way I think, the way I look at the world, and my relationship with people even. And during this 5 year of my reading journey, I've learned things that no one has ever told me or I've seen online about reading, which I shall share. Now, the reason I picked 10 pages was honestly pretty random, but I did get pretty lucky that this number specifically was small enough that I can't make many excuses, but also big enough that over time it compounds like crazy. And honestly, man, like people get busy, I get busy. I don't have 1 hour every day to sit down and read like 50 pages. And gotta be honest, I remember like just 2 weeks ago, I had a full day of uni and then I went to a networking event, came home super late, had a shower, went on bed, but I still just read, where is it? Let me find the book. There it is. The Daily Laws. I still just read 1 page just to keep the mental momentum going. Great book, by the way. Robert Greene, Power Law as well. Great book. Great, absolute peak. And here's the cool bit. When I'm thinking about this video and my journey of 10 pages a day for 5 years, every year I actually saw a major improvement or lesson or habit change or just the way I'm reading changed. So I'm gonna show you, well, with words, just me sitting here telling you, but year by year of my journey of the 5 years of reading. Year 1, it was the hardest part. It was struggling to keep the consistency. There were so many excuses. There were so many excuses, honestly. Like, some days I'm like, oh, I can't be fucked reading, right? It would just be 1 day though, and then it would be 3 days without reading. And some other days I'm like sitting here reading, and I'm like, I'm just not in the zone. I'm not even looking at, I'm not actually like reading. I'm just looking at words. And then I'll be thinking to myself, why am I sitting here just looking at words? What is the point? And then just hate myself. But I did find a hack to stay consistent, and it's pretty funny because I was reading this book, Atomic Habits, and through it I learned about habit stacking, which is to identify a current habit you already do anyways, and then just do the habit you want to have with it together. So I normally read in the mornings before I do all of my work for the day, and I also make my morning coffee in the morning. Fuck am I? So after learning about habit stacking, I will basically just make my morning coffee and sip my long black Americano coffee while turning the pages. And that literally made me consistent, at least for the entire year 1. I needed that. Later on, as you will see, I don't really need to do that anymore. Like, I crave reading. Like, it fucking itches if I don't read. Sound like a nerd, but hold on. Now, year 2 was about book writing. I am not an author though, and I actually just mean like grabbing a pen, or I don't know if you can see it, just like this little page here. Grabbing a pen or a highlighter and just start marking shit on your book. If it is yours, of course. Like just this year, I accidentally wrote on a book that wasn't mine. I borrowed from uni. I think I wrote about 4 pages and like, oh shit, realized after, and I returned without telling anybody. But the next guy reading is going to get some of my valuable, informative perspective on what the, how I think what the author is trying to, the message is trying to communicate. Like at the start, I was one of those guys who just wanted to keep my book super clean. You know, you get it fresh off the shelf or it's brand new, and it's not cheap, it's pretty expensive. And so you just want to keep it in perfect condition, you know? But I realized a lot of the time, the shittier the book, the cleaner it is. Because you just don't have anything to write in it. It didn't teach you anything. You don't have anything that you want to remember or highlight. Nothing. And the better the book, the messier it is, of course. And this actually goes way back to, I remember in year 9, where I really wanted to improve my English. So English was my mother tongue. And so I set this goal for myself to learn the entire dictionary. And during lunch, where I will sit on the table with my friends, they will all just be chatting and having lunch, of course. I will be there with my lunchbox and a Oxford dictionary and a little notebook to copy all of the vocabularies. So I'll copy the word and then what part of speech, like noun, adjective, verb, and then the definition. I will do that like I'll try to learn 50 words a day, and that lasted, yeah, about 4 days. So, but when I started reading properly again, I still kept the habit of when I don't know a word and I want to learn it to expand my vocabulary, I'll still jot that little word into a notebook and keep it on the side. But when I started rereading the book I like, which is, where is it here? Where is it? Where's the book I read? Oh, here it is. Yeah, when I started rereading this book, I realized, fuck, there's just no way I'm going to have my little notebook on the side if I forget the word again and then just like look at it. And there's no point looking it up again. So I got lazy pretty much and just started writing directly in the margins. And then that kind of transformed into also writing about my own thoughts, ideas, and lessons learned into the book. So the lesson here, is that the more I wrote in a book, the more it became mine. That's the idea that I kind of wanted to talk about in my year 2 journey. Now, year 3, I stopped reading passively. It wasn't just about finishing books anymore. I used to think that, oh my God, I'm just going to finish this book and all of the knowledge will become mine. And that's not how it works actually. Although it still does feel very satisfying finishing a book. But I also started reading with more intent. So really think while I'm reading. Think about what I'm reading, how this applies to me, what the author is trying to say, why is he trying to say that? You know, all of the things that, because I noticed sometimes if I just passively read and kind of, what do you call it, like autopilot my reading, the next day I would literally forget what I read the day before and I have to go back 3 or 4 pages just to remember the context. So that was annoying. And again, I actually learned about a concept called focus is like a muscle through reading this book as well, deep work. And it's basically like talking about how you can try and focus, it's in the word, like a muscle. When you're in the gym, you want to build that mind-muscle connection by really looking at your muscle and paying attention and try to get that connection in. Same thing here, you really want to slow down and just think and process, really get deep into it, under it, with whatever content you're reading about. Instead of just, again, looking at words. That's not how you read. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned from my reading career. So it's not about just reading more at that point. The quality of your reading is also very important. And to get that quality, you just need to activate your mind. What the fuck am I saying? You just need to activate your brain. Now, year 4 is when I took the game to the next level. I was still reading 10 pages and writing in my book, but I started developing my second brain repository for all of my books. I built this Notion library where every book I read has its own page with a few prompts that force me to slow down and actually think, journal a little and reflect upon the journey I have came across and the lessons I've learned, the wisdom I have consumed. So there's basically prompts for every chapter and there's prompts after you finish the whole book. I will attach the Notion template to the description below if you want to give it a look. And I also actually keep all of my books in there for you to have a look for yourself as well. Can't speak, right? I'm getting a little nervous. And I found that by doing this, having to journal and reflect along the way, it's kind of almost like reading and journaling and having a conversation with someone smarter than me, which is the author. It's really cool. And if I ever want to revisit a book 5 years later, I can just go on my Notion and look at all of the highlighted bits, all of the core lessons I've learnt to remind myself of the core essence of the book. Actually, talking about having a conversation, not just with the author, you're actually also having a conversation with your past self. So like, it was pretty cool looking back 2 years from now and see the things I wrote after finishing the biography of Elon Musk. It literally feels like I'm having a conversation with my past self. And sometimes that's what journaling does, right? You look back through a journal and can kind of see who you were before. But also, you know, when you have a conversation, sometimes it's pretty awkward. You know, you do a little bit of small talk, you don't really get deep into it. But in this case, when you're writing and reflecting upon a book, you already have a topic, a very deep, specific topic to talk about. So that way you make the conversation much more natural and meaningful at the same time. So give it a try. see the journeys and the changes of yourself in a couple of years' time by just keeping a repository of your journals of the books you're reading. I hope that makes sense. Now in year 5, everything is a little bit different. I'm not reading just to read. I'm reading because I actually need to read. So instead of just like reading self-help books, I'm actually reading more relevant stuff like business, startups, marketing, books about people, how to build good relationships, books that I actually need to read. And one sentence to say it all, I used to read to improve myself. Now I read to equip myself. It is way more targeted, way more intentional, but also way more exciting because everything that I learned from the book, let's say, where's my purple cow book? Anyways, I can't find it. But oh, there it is actually. Let's talk about this book, 0 to 1 by Peter. It literally helped my startup and helped open my eyes about how to build a startup and how to really find the product market fit, which I didn't even think about beforehand. And that helped me a ton with my startup, honestly. And it's so good that I can directly benefit and apply the lessons I've learned from the books directly to what I'm doing in real life. And I think that's the final stage almost of reading. You're no longer treating reading as a habit anymore, but you're using it as a tool to help you to build your dreams and achieve your goals. So if you want to start reading and you went through all of that shit, like all of that video, this video, I know you are thinking about starting to read. And I think everyone should read. You should definitely read. And in high school, I used to think that, like you're either a reader or you're not a reader. Like I would go to school before classes and see all of these guys, people sitting in libraries just reading, and then during recess and lunch they're still there reading, and after school they're still there reading. I'm like, what the fuck is so interesting about words on a piece of paper? What the fuck are you doing with it? Like, are you trying to analyze the message the author is trying to convey like we're doing English class or some shit? And gotta be honest, like English classes, the education system really did ruin reading for a lot of us. At least for me. But the thing is, just like when you go on YouTube, not every video or thumbnail captures your attention. Reading is the same thing. You're not a reader. You just haven't found the right book for yourself yet. And some books are like clickbait. Let me show you. This is an extremely overrated book. I didn't learn nothing, and the thick, expensive book as well. Maybe it will help you. Just personally, it didn't help me at all. So that was a clickbait for me. Like, I'm like halfway through it, I'm like, yeah, no, what the fuck am I reading? But when you do find something that hits, something that makes you think differently, something that takes you into a brand new different perspective of someone else's life that you can never imagine and directly benefits you, dude, that's when reading becomes way more enjoyable. And 10 pages a day, I know it doesn't sound like much, but over time, it will for sure change the way you think, the way you view the world, the way you have your relationships, everything, all of that, the way you look at life. So start small, stay consistent, just let the pages do their thing for you.